Hi, my name is Emily. I'm 27 years old, and I live in a small town in the United States. My life is simple. Every day I wake up early, take a shower, and drink my coffee. I love coffee. The smell in the morning makes me feel ready for the day. After my coffee, I go to work. I work in an office as an assistant. My job is not very exciting, but it's okay. I answer emails, organize papers, and sometimes talk on the phone. My boss, Mr. Harris, is nice. He always says, "Good morning, Emily," when I walk into the office. The people I work with are friendly, but we don't talk much. I like to focus on my work and finish everything on time. When I'm not working, I love to read. Books are my favorite thing in the world. On Saturdays, I go to the library or the bookstore. I walk through the aisles, looking at all the covers. I pick up a book, read the back, and imagine the story inside. Sometimes I spend hours in the bookstore, and I feel so happy. I also love spending time with my best friends, Sarah and Jessica. We have known each other since we were kids. Sarah is funny and always makes me laugh. Jessica is calm and a great listener. We like to go to the park, eat ice cream, or sit in a cafe and talk. Our conversations are always fun and honest. They know everything about me, and I know everything about them. Now, let me tell you about Jake. Jake is my boyfriend. He works in a garage and fixes cars. Jake is tall, has short brown hair, and a strong build. When I first met him, I thought he was perfect. He smiled a lot and told great jokes. I remember our first date. He brought me flowers, red roses. I felt so special. At the beginning of our relationship, everything was wonderful. Jake called me every day. He asked about my day, made me laugh. I felt so happy with him. I thought, this is it. I found my person. But now, things are different. Jake doesn't call me as much. When I talk to him, he doesn't really listen. He looks at his phone or changes the subject. Last week, I told him about a book I was reading. I said, "This book is amazing. The story is about love and courage." He just said cool and kept scrolling on his phone. Another time, I asked Jake to go to the park with me. It was a sunny day, and I thought it would be nice to spend time together. He said, "I'm busy," without even looking at me. I felt a little hurt. I thought, why doesn't he want to spend time with me? These moments happen more and more. Jake seems distant. He doesn't smile at me like he used to. Sometimes I feel invisible when I'm with him. One evening I sat on my bed and thought about our relationship. I looked at the flowers on my desk. They were from Sarah, not Jake. She gave them to me last week because she knows I love flowers. I realized Jake hasn't given me flowers in a long time. I started to think about the little things that made me happy. Books, coffee, my friends, sunny days at the park. These things make me smile. But Jake, lately, being with him makes me feel sad. I remember a moment last month. Jake and I were watching TV. I wanted to talk to him, but he didn't seem interested. I said, "Jake, do you think we are happy together?" He shrugged and said, "I don't know." "Why are you asking?" His words stayed in my mind. "I don't know, didn't feel like love." I also thought about myself. When was the last time I felt truly happy? I couldn't remember. I realized I was trying so hard to make Jake happy that I forgot about my own happiness. One day I talked to Sarah about it. We were sitting in the park eating ice cream. I said, "Sarah, I feel like Jake doesn't care about me anymore. He doesn't listen, he doesn't call, and I feel so lonely." Sarah looked at me with her kind eyes and said, "Emily, you are an amazing person. You are kind, smart, and beautiful. If Jake doesn't see that, it's his problem, not yours. You deserve someone who loves and respects you." Her words made me think. I do deserve love and respect. But why do I feel so afraid to let Jake go? Maybe it's because I remember the good times. I remember the flowers, the jokes, and the way he made me feel special. But are those memories enough? That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and thought about Sarah's words. You deserve someone who loves and respects you. I repeated them in my mind like a mantra. I knew she was right. Deep inside, I knew I couldn't keep feeling this way. I couldn't keep waiting for Jake to care. I needed to make a change. As I lay in bed, I made a decision. I didn't know exactly how or when, but I knew one thing. I deserved more. It was a rainy Thursday evening. I sat on the couch, looking out the window. The sound of the rain was soft, but inside I felt a storm. Jake was sitting next to me, but he wasn't paying attention to me. He was on his phone, scrolling and smiling at something on the screen. I looked at him and said, "Jake, can we talk?" He didn't look up. "About what?" he asked, his voice flat. "I feel like we're not the same anymore," I said. My voice was small, but my heart was loud, beating fast. He sighed and finally put his phone down. "What are you talking about, Emily?" he said, sounding annoyed. "I feel like you don't care about me," I said. "You don't call me. You don't listen when I talk. I feel like I'm alone, even when I'm with you." Jake rolled his eyes. "Oh, come on, Emily. You're being dramatic. I'm busy. I have a lot on my mind." His words hurt. I felt tears in my eyes, but I tried to stay calm. "I just want us to spend time together. I miss how we used to be," I said softly. Jake laughed, but it wasn't a kind laugh. "You always want something, don't you? Why can't you just relax?" he said. That laugh broke something inside me. It wasn't just the laugh. It was his words, his tone, the way he looked at me like I was a problem. I sat there, frozen, thinking about everything I had done to make him happy. I remembered how I used to love going to a dance class every Tuesday night. I stopped going because Jake said, "Why do you need that? Just spend time with me." So, I stayed home. I gave up something I loved for him. I also thought about my friends. Sarah and Jessica used to come over every Friday, and we would watch movies and eat popcorn. But Jake said, "Your friends are so loud. Why can't we have a quiet night instead?" So, I stopped inviting them. I gave up so many things for Jake. I tried to be the perfect girlfriend, but now, sitting on the couch with him, I felt empty. I wasn't Emily anymore. I was just Jake's girlfriend, trying to make him happy while I forgot about myself. I took a deep breath and said, "Jake, I need to ask you something. Do you even care about me? Do you love me?" Jake didn't even think before he answered. "Emily, I don't have time for these questions. You're making everything so difficult," he said. Difficult. That word hit me like a rock. I wasn't difficult. I was just trying to share my feelings. I looked at Jake, really looked at him, and in that moment, I knew I couldn't do this anymore. The next day, I called Sarah. "Can we meet at the cafe?" I asked her. My voice sounded tired, even to me. "Of course," she said. Sarah always knew when something was wrong. When I arrived, she was already there, waiting with 2 cups of coffee. I sat down and looked at her. I didn't even know where to start. "What's going on, Emily?" she asked gently. I took a deep breath. I'm not happy, Sarah, I said. Jake doesn't listen to me. He doesn't care about my feelings, and I don't feel like myself anymore. Sarah frowned. Emily, I've noticed that. You've stopped doing things you love. You don't talk about your dance classes, and we don't have our movie nights anymore. Why did you stop? Because Jake didn't like them, I said quietly. Sarah put her hand on mine. Emily, listen to me. A good boyfriend would never ask you to give up the things you love. He would support you, not make you feel small. Her words felt like sunshine breaking through the clouds. She was right. I had given up so much for Jake, and he had given me nothing in return. But what if I'm wrong? I said. What if I'm asking for too much? Sarah shook her head. Emily, you're not wrong. You're kind, smart, and loving. You deserve someone who sees that. Someone who makes you feel special every single day. Jake is not that person. Her words stayed with me. As I walked home, I thought about everything she said. I thought about the girl I used to be before Jake. I was happy, confident, and full of life. I wanted to find that girl again. And I knew I couldn't find her if I stayed with Jake. The night before I decided to talk to Jake, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. What would I say? How would he react? Would he be angry? Would he try to convince me to stay? A part of me hoped he would fight for me, tell me he cared and that he wanted to change. But deep down, I knew the truth. Jake didn't see me the way I wanted to be seen. I grabbed a notebook from my nightstand and started writing. Jake, I can't do this anymore. I don't feel happy. I don't feel loved. The words felt heavy as I wrote them. Then I crossed them out and tried again. Jake, I need more than this. I deserve someone who listens to me and respects me. My hand trembled as I wrote, but I kept going. I wanted to be clear. I wanted to be strong. The next morning, I woke up early and rehearsed in front of the mirror. Jake, I'm ending this relationship because it's not good for me, I said to my reflection. My voice was shaky, but I straightened my shoulders and tried again. I'm doing this because I deserve to be happy. Saying the words out loud made them feel real. That evening, I went to Jake's apartment. He was sitting on the couch, watching a basketball game. I stood by the door for a moment, taking a deep breath. Hi, Jake, I said. He looked up and smiled briefly. Hey, come sit down, he said, patting the couch. I didn't move. Can we talk? I asked. Jake sighed and muted the TV. Sure, what's up? I walked over and sat down, but not too close. I looked at him, trying to find the right words. Jake, I began. I've been thinking a lot about us, about our relationship. He frowned. Okay, what about it? I took another deep breath. I don't think this is working anymore. I don't feel happy, and I don't think you do either. Jake's face changed. He looked surprised, then annoyed. What are you talking about? We're fine, Emily. I shook my head. No, we're not, Jake. You don't listen to me. You don't spend time with me. I feel like I'm always trying to make you happy, but you don't do the same for me. Jake leaned back on the couch and crossed his arms. So, what? You're breaking up with me because I'm not perfect? His words stung, but I stayed calm. No, Jake, I'm breaking up with you because I need more. I need love, respect, and effort, and I don't feel that from you. He laughed bitterly.
Wow.
Emily, that's dramatic. I didn't know you felt this way. That's the problem, I said softly. You never listen. Even now, you're not really hearing me. For a moment, there was silence. Jake stared at the floor, his jaw tight. Then he looked at me. Fine. If that's what you want, go ahead, leave. But don't come back later saying you made a mistake. His words were cold, and they hurt, but they also made me feel sure. I stood up, my legs shaking a little. I'm not making a mistake, I said firmly. Goodbye, Jake. I turned and walked to the door. My heart was pounding, and I felt like I might cry. But as soon as I stepped outside, I took a deep breath. The air felt fresh, like I could finally breathe again. The first night after the breakup was hard. I sat on my bed, hugging a pillow, and cried. I cried for the good times, for the love I thought we had. I cried because I felt lonely, even though I knew I had made the right choice. The next day, I woke up feeling tired but lighter. I didn't have to wait for Jake to call. I didn't have to feel disappointed when he didn't. I was free. I called Sarah and told her what happened. I did it, I said, my voice shaking. Sarah gasped. Emily, I'm so proud of you. How do you feel? Scared, I admitted, but also relieved, like I can finally focus on myself again. Sarah's voice was warm and encouraging. You're going to be okay, Emily. You're stronger than you think. Her words stayed with me. Over the next few days, I started to see small changes in myself. I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I went for a walk in the park, something I hadn't done in a long time. The sun felt warm on my skin, and for the first time in months, I smiled without feeling sad. I also called Jessica and invited her over for a movie night. When she arrived, she hugged me tightly. Emily, I missed this, she said, as we sat on the couch with popcorn. Me too, I said, and I meant it. As the days passed, I started to think about who I was before Jake. I remembered how much I loved dancing, so I signed up for a class at the community center. The first class was nerve-wracking, but as I moved to the music, I felt alive again. I also started journaling, writing down my thoughts and feelings. One night I wrote, breaking up with Jake was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was the best decision for me. I deserve to be happy, and now I have the chance to find that happiness. Of course, not every day was easy. Some nights I missed Jake. I missed having someone to talk to, someone to share my day with, but then I reminded myself of why I left. I thought about how lonely I felt even when I was with him, and that gave me strength. I also leaned on my friends. Sarah and Jessica were always there, cheering me on. You're doing great, Emily, Sarah said one day. You're becoming yourself again. Her words made me smile. She was right. I was finding myself again. By the end of the week, I felt stronger. I looked in the mirror and saw a woman who had faced her fears and chosen herself. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful, and that was enough. The first morning of my new life felt different. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the window and the sound of birds chirping outside. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel heavy or worried. I got out of bed, made my favorite coffee, and sat by the window. I didn't need to check my phone or wait for a call from Jake. I just enjoyed the quiet moment. After breakfast, I grabbed my notebook and made a list of things I wanted to do. At the top of the list, I wrote, try something new. Later that week, I signed up for a dance class at the local community center. Dancing was something I loved before Jake, but I had stopped because I thought spending time with him was more important. Walking into the studio felt strange at first. I was nervous, afraid I wouldn't be good enough. Hi, I'm Emily, I said to the instructor, a cheerful woman named Lisa. "Welcome, Emily," she said with a big smile. "Just have fun and enjoy the music." The class started, and the music filled the room. At first, my steps were awkward, but as the rhythm flowed through me, I began to relax. I moved freely, letting the music guide me. By the end of the class, I was smiling so much my cheeks hurt. "Great job, Emily," Lisa said. "I hope to see you next week." I nodded. "I'll be here," I replied, and I meant it. That evening, I called Sarah to tell her about the class. "I can't believe I waited so long to do this," I said. "It felt amazing to just dance and forget about everything else." "I'm so happy for you, Emily," Sarah said. "You're finding yourself again, and it's beautiful to see." Hearing her words made me feel proud. I was taking steps toward the life I wanted, one little piece at a time. In the weeks that followed, I started trying other things I had always been curious about. I joined a book club at the library, where I met people who loved reading as much as I did. Our discussions were lively and full of laughter. I made new friends there, like Megan, who shared my love for mystery novels. I also started going for morning walks in the park. I loved feeling the cool air on my face and seeing the trees change as the seasons shifted. One morning, as I walked past the playground, I saw a little girl laughing as she played with her dog. Her joy was so pure that it made me smile too. Moments like that reminded me of how beautiful life could be. As time went on, I found myself thinking less and less about Jake. At first, I felt strange not missing him. Shouldn't I feel sad? But I realized I had spent so much time being sad when I was with him. Now, I was filling my days with things that brought me joy. One evening, I sat down with my journal and wrote, "I am stronger than I thought. I am learning who I am again, and I love the person I'm becoming." Writing those words felt like a small victory one day. Sarah and Jessica came over for a movie night, just like old times. We laughed, ate too much popcorn, and talked about everything under the sun. "I missed this," Jessica said, hugging a pillow. "Me too," I said. "I feel like I'm finally myself again." Sarah nodded. "You've grown so much, Emily. You're glowing." Hearing that made my heart swell. I realized how much my friends had supported me through everything. They were always there, cheering me on, even when I didn't believe in myself. A few months after the breakup, I found myself looking in the mirror one morning. The person staring back at me was confident, smiling, and at peace. I thought about everything I had been through, the doubts, the sadness, and the fear. But I had come out on the other side, stronger and happier. I realized something important. I didn't need someone else to make me feel complete. I could find happiness in my own life, with my own choices. One evening after dance class, Lisa came up to me. "Emily, you've improved so much," she said. "You move with so much confidence now. Have you ever thought about performing in front of others?" The idea scared me at first, but I felt a spark of excitement. "Maybe I will," I said. That night, I thought about Lisa's words. Performing in front of others felt like a big step, but it also felt right. It was a chance to show myself how far I had come. A month later, I stood on a small stage at the community center, surrounded by my fellow dancers. The music started, and I let it carry me. I moved with joy and freedom, completely in the moment. When the dance ended, the audience clapped, and I felt a wave of pride. After the performance, Sarah and Jessica came up to me. "Emily, you were amazing," Jessica said. "We're so proud of you," Sarah added. "Thank you," I said, tears in my eyes. "I couldn't have done this without you." As I walked home that night, I thought about how far I had come. I had faced my fears, let go of what wasn't good for me, and found strength I didn't know I had. I also thought about the people who might be where I was months ago, feeling stuck, unsure, and afraid to take the first step. I wanted to tell them, you can do it. You are stronger than you think. You deserve to be happy. Today, I'm still learning, growing, and discovering who I am. Life isn't perfect, but it's full of possibility. I wake up every day with gratitude for the journey I've been on. And if I could leave you with one message, it would be this: you are enough, you are capable, and you deserve a life that brings you joy. Never settle for less than you deserve. Do you remember? What did Emily do to find a new passion? Why did Emily decide she deserved more? Put yourself in her shoes. If you were Emily, what would be your first step to restart your life? What would you do to feel happier after a difficult situation?